that there's always a negative connotation with coping. You're coping because it's a temporary phase you're going through. It's a difficult phase you're putting up with to deal with so that you can then complete and move on. It's never something that should be there in the background all the time. If you're constantly coping, it's a guaranteed sure way to get towards burnout or some kind of breakdown. So coping is often putting up temporarily with something that is a little bit of a challenge, sometimes more of a challenge. And, there's nothing wrong with using that term. Some people say I'm coping very well. Brilliant. I personally prefer saying I'm handling it. I'm managing it. It just seems to trigger a different part of my brain and makes me feel like I'm a little bit more empowered, I suppose, and more in control, because ultimately uncontrolled stress leads to a traumatic experience. Controlled stress, on the other hand, is you being in charge, you being using a variety of different tools so you don't feel overwhelmed or your barrel doesn't fill up and pour over, so to speak. So I think, and I suppose if you cope well or you manage well and handle things well, what happens over time, you develop resilience, and resilience ends up being that coating of Teflon that protects you as you plow through life and its many setbacks, its many hits, so to speak. You're able to, as my friend Kevin Lay puts it, resilience is bounce back ability, which I think is really nicely put. It's the ability to bounce back and keep going forward. You bounce back well when you have a set of tools, an asset base to go back to and say, right, I know what to do. I know who to be. And this is what I need to be right now. And because you've acquired those tools, you're more capable, consequently. And I think that's something that the world could do with more of new strengths, new skills, rather than feeling overwhelmed and like they're drowning with too much going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I'm interested in, and you're right, your choice of words can be really powerful, and how I'm handling it and how I'm coping is right. A clearly different language, which evokes a different approach. But actually, are the tools any different? Okay, is the way you handle things actually any difference to the way that you cope with things, and it's just a difference in wording, or actually are they fundamental different strategies?
I know, that's a good question. I never thought about it that way, because I suppose it's looking at it from a deeper angle. I'm trying to think the way my clients tend to think. I'm going through a tough time. I'm really struggling here. I'm overwhelmed. I'm drowning. I can't take this anymore. The language they use is very much like someone who's using bad strategies or yesterday's solutions for today's problems. And we work on that. We identify what factors are, might be holding them back and address them. But fundamentally, I suppose it's a question of strategy, Tim. I mean, if my food is burning on the stove, I'm going to use a different strategy in remedying that situation than a delay at the airport, which is going to cause me to be late for a meeting or a seminar. So, you wear different hats, you handle things differently so that you make the most of the situation. If you're watching EastEnders on TV and the curtain's on fire, you're not just going to sit and say, I'm just going to wait for the next ad break. You get up, you put yourself into that state and fix the situation. However, I think this is a good segue into what happens to us as human beings when we're going under bad stress or going through bad stress. Because you've got good stress, you've got bad stress. Bad stress overwhelms, demoralizes, it causes a plethora of different chaotic things that happen in the brain, which off the top of my head, if you don't mind, I'm going to remind some of the viewers what they might be, because it resonates with a lot, including myself. And please feel free to add, because we're both on the same page here. So when you're under stress, your amygdala expands. You go into the 4 Fs: fight, flight, freeze, fold. The chemicals in your body change. You release more stress hormones, such as cortisol. Your liver releases glucose, your blood pressure goes up, your heart palpitates over a long period of time. You might get atrial fibrillation, irregularity of the heart, poor quality of sleep, not enough REM sleep. You consequently you end up having mood swings, anger tantrums, you feel withdrawn. You crave dopamine, which then affects the type of foods you eat, and comfort eating, of course, and gaining weight. Not to mention habitual substances, which often people, resort to, sadly. Gut flora changes, acidity in the stomach, muscle tension, migraines. God, the list goes on. There's so much that happens. Jaw clenching, teeth grinding, backache, adrenal glands go into overdrive, disruption of the endocrine system. The list is endless, but ultimately dis-ease of your mind creates disease. This is not, a lot of great thinkers have confirmed that.
I'm really struck there. I'm really struck there by the point that you make about this connection of mind and body, and it's not just a mental thing; it's a physiological thing. I mean, that's really very powerful.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is I think that's what irks me today. Everybody says mental health. It's health. Is it physical or is it emotional? Is it mental? It's all health.